Hello and welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We are back after a little bit of a layoff and super busy getting ready for the holidays, but we've got Tony Scapone on the Epic Gamble versus Matt on Omnitell. Both players have put up a ton of great results with these builds, but constantly looking to innovate. We've got Fiery Islet for Tony. Basically mono red. However, you do have Echo of Aeons, so is it? Got a Rite of Flame into Burning Wish, so no mana floating. Burning Wish is going to find Echo of Aeons. The reason for the blue in the deck, a lot of the time, is just straight up better than Time Twister. When you're casting it from the graveyard, same cost as Time Twister, same effect. Kind of feels a little reminiscent of kind of long back in the day, the earlier Storm combo decks in Vintage. Really enjoy seeing this deck continues to evolve into. And we've got, of course, Lion's Eye Diamond, the key component. You get to play 4 of them. Any of the decks that it's in, Lion's Eye Diamond actually ends up being better than Black Lotus if you can do that. If you're playing a card like Urza, you can tap it for mana and then sacrifice it, as unlike Black Lotus, you don't have to tap it to sacrifice it. You just straight up sack this artifact. So for things that allow you to tap permanents for some effect, even better. And we've got Faithless Looting, drawing 2, discarding 2 beforehand. Of course, all of these cards expected to go away to this Lion's Eye Diamond. Got Lotus Petal. Mox Opal. All sorts of artifacts. And no counterspell from Matt, so we're going to be spinning the wheel. The deck runs so many artifacts that can easily support Mox Opal. Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Opals, Chrome Moxes. And you also have Defense Grid and Burgies. Flip side, the Horn. Pretty sure it's an artifact. Might be out of school there. Maybe it's an enchantment. I'm pretty sure it's an artifact. Chrome Mox. Keeps the ball rolling. Will Matt have drawn into a draw 7? That's the danger versus a deck like Matt's. I mean, you can just draw them into difficult to deal with hand unless you have Defense Grid out. I have been looking at the most recent builds of the Epic Storm. It was 12.5, so maybe there's a later one, but that runs Silence and Veil of Summers in the main. Getting rid of all of the discard. Previously, you had 6 slots. And we got Jessica's Will being thrown out there. A draw 3, or after a Echo, is often just way better than Seething Song, as you're going to get 7 mana after your opponent draws up to 7 cards. That is kind of the danger here. So the Epic Gamble does have Defense Grid, so if that comes into it, that will be able to greatly reduce the damage or the risk of giving your opponent 7 new cards, potentially repeatedly, as you chain Echo into Echo. This card really, I think the only card that I'm kind of not thrilled with. I mean, Chrome Mox it's a magic card. It's not my favorite, but it is certainly a magic card. And Rite of Flame, those are really kind of the two that I'm just kind of like, eh. Yeah, you obsolete them if you can, but they're not easily pushed away. Much bigger fan of Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual compared to the 2-mana rituals, which Tony at this point is completely cut out of the deck, along with Seething Song. So really a great piece of deck building here. Taking an archetype really underplayed continuing to refine it. And here we see Gamble doing its work. 1 mana tutors. Gamble, not much of a gamble when you're just using it as an entomb, searching your library for any card, and then adding it to your hand, and then discarding a card at random from your hand. The deck's often capable of just getting down to a single card in hand, which is the gamble, which means whatever you tutor for ends up in the bin. So you just guarantee to find an Echo of Aeons and put it directly into the bin for easy flashback. Keep that wheel spinning. Here's Bergie. She's gonna Force of Will previously. Imagine if you're watching this video, you know what Force of Will does. Bergie, on the other hand, if you haven't faced off against this deck, may not realize that this is a legacy playable card. It certainly is. Every instant or sorcery, I mean any spell actually, but all of these artifacts are relevant too. So all of the spells adding extra red mana. So cards like Faithless Looting end up being mana neutral. And things like Chrome Mox, even if you don't imprint, are going to make some mana. Really gives a huge boost. Not hard to get that 3 mana investment back out of the card. See here the Stormcout building. 4 red, Storm of 8. I mean, a Lion's Eye Diamond and a tutor would be game. Jessica's Will, up to Storm 9. And, oh, it's actually the mana side, so just a crazy amount of mana. 7, now 8. And is this just going to be an Empty the Warrens? I believe we just have 8 red mana, no black for the Tendrils. And, oh, here we go. Past in Flames. Not the strongest card in these decks, but Past in Flames gonna be lethal there. Very often the graveyard ends up empty compared to other Storm decks, which look to really build that graveyard as a resource. You're going to be echoing in most of the games that you're playing with this deck. But they're Past in Flames, totally worth it. I don't believe there's any main deck Past in Flames anymore in the deck at all. Just something that you can either Burning Wish or wish for. That was a big turn. Past in Flames taking it down. On the other side of that, you could have potentially seen like a Galvanic Relay for just like a crazy amount of cards. I mean, I think Storm was like 10. So assuming that Omnitell doesn't kill you on their turn, you'd be in very good shape. But that's a big assumption. You really don't want to be giving Omnitell any extra turns. Deck that can actually just straight up kill you on the first turn. Not something to take lightly. And a Ponder. I mean, can do infinite damage on the first turn. It is something. To behold Omnitell going off. Omniscience is a pretty crazy magic card. Now, this is Omnitell, not Eureka Tell. Matt's had a lot of success with that green splash here. I believe we're on mono blue. We got a Force of Will stopping defense grid. Defense grid, of course, one of the core lines of defense for the deck, making all spells on other players' turns cost 3 mana. Going to make Force of Will not exactly a bargain, though occasionally castable. You can represent 3 mana. You can force pitching a blue card and then pay 3, which is better than just dying. Got Rite of Flame now. Into another Rite of Flame. A rare instance where Rite of Flame actually looking pretty decent. And 4 mana. The second Rite of Flame is Dark Ritual. Got Wish. 3 mana. Extra copies of Burning Wish, essentially. Really doesn't matter in this deck, I don't think, as far as being able to access non-sorcery cards. I think the whole sideboard is pretty much sorceries anyways. And Galvanic Relay, mentioned it earlier, this is a big printing for the deck. We've got Daze hitting a random... Oh, no. We have Flusterstorm. Like Matt put the Flusterstorm out there. I'm not sure what that Daze mix-up was, but Flusterstorm totally backbreaking. And now Murktide Regent. This is a new addition. It's a big boy. 7. And kind of lines up really well with the mana base on the other side of the board. That Ancient Tomb and Shatter Skull Smashing doing a tune on Tony's life total. He's already at 13. So this Murktide's just going to be 2 quick swings. Ooh, and a Relay. Just like... Not likely to do much. Daze is already known. I guess you just daze it. And this does have a green splash. I thought it was mono blue. No. Jessica's Will for next turn. That's about as much as you could hope for. Here we go. Jessica's Will. Yeah, I mean, that really is like as much as you could hope for off of that Relay. Go ahead and cast the Will. That allows it. 3 cards flipped. That Relay is not going to be in time, and we are on to the next one as Murktide easily does those final 2 points of damage all by himself. Interesting addition to this combo deck, the ability to use what some people consider to be the best part of the new Delver strategies. People are really torn. People are talking about Ragavan, Daze, Murktide. There's certainly some salt around one of the best performing archetypes in, Delver shells. I mean, it's really a Xerox issue at the end of the day. It's just a really solid strategy. It's one of the things that got me into playing Eternal extremely competitively with Miracle Grow decks back in the day. Being able to run a really light mana base with a ton of cantrips, and it's super effective. At the end of the day, you're finding the cards that you need, and you're not getting mana flooded. Now, Omnitell, obviously a different animal, has more mana. Not able to contest things quite the same as like a Delver deck. You're basically able to battle on the stack, and then you're just trying to win. So your answer to stuff is just actually winning compared to being able to Lightning Bolt or answer their permanents with some other type of effect, bouncing it or whatever it might be. A couple of Chrome Moxes into a Defense Grid, and talk about a all-in hand. Defense Grid actually sticks, and we've got a Lion's Eye Diamond into Echo, and this is just a really strong hand. All in. When you look at it and you've got that Defense Grid plus the Lion's Eye Diamond, of course you're going to go for it. You figure worst case scenario, they're going to force a will the Defense Grid, and then your Echo is going to resolve anyways. Couple of Lotus Petals, so the Storm count's still building. Storm is all the way up to 8. And it looks like he's already got what he needs, as Faithless Looting gets imprinted And another Echo. And Tony opting to keep those Lotus Petals on the board. I'm not sure how big of a decision that was for him. If he'd want to potentially draw into more Lotus Petals in this next hand. Finally makes a land drop after playing at least a dozen cards. And now Jessica's Will finally getting the mana, 7 mana. So much. He's going to be presenting something that looks an awful lot like lethal if it's not lethal. Might just be straight up death, but worst case scenario, it'll be a lethal swarm of goblins that'll just need a turn, get things together. Of course, Galvanic Relay also a possibility from here. Burning Wish grabs Past in Flames. And there's Jessica's Will and... what else is in there? The Jessica's Will. Back up to 7 mana. Another Defense Grid. Burning Wish with 3 mana floating. And Grape Shot. That actually ends up being 20 spells. Look at that. All the way up to 20. And a Grape Shot for lethal with double Defense Grid backup as Tony just has some fun by himself there in Game 3, showcasing the power of the Epic Gamble.